It is Thursday here in the off-season of Texas high school football, and that can mean only one thing. That's right, it's time.
Oh, my gosh.
For Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
It's Math Tuesday here on Texas Football Today, where we dive inside the numbers of Texas high school football. And a week ago here on Math Tuesday, which occurs every Thursday, we talked about the best and most improved offenses in Texas high school football. And now I want to go back and talk about the defenses. Because we talked about last week with the offenses how offenses and scoring output has kind of plateaued, is hanging around the 27, 28 point per game average. And nothing wrong with that. It has been a gradual increase from about 24 points per game back in the earlier part of the century. Now it's up to about 27, 28 points per game. I think it is harder today to be a defensive coordinator in Texas high school football than at any point, simply because the offenses are getting more complicated. They are getting more advanced. They are getting more versatile, and everyone can do a little bit of everything. It used to be that you would play a team and they ran one style of offense. Now, we ask coaches on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Coaches Questionnaire what offense they run, and the number one response we get is multiple. Multiple spread, multiple tight, all these different types of things, but you get different looks. Furthermore, that doesn't even count the idea that one week you could be playing a wide open spread, and the next week you could be playing the wing tee, and the next week you could be running a pro style, and the next week they could be running something completely different. I think it is harder today to be a defensive coordinator in Texas high school football than it ever has been, which is what I think makes all of these particular programs particularly impressive. And so let's take a look at first the best statistical defenses in UIL 11-man Texas high school football last year. These are the teams that had the best scoring averages last year. And at the very top, the Mustangs of Wheeler. Wheeler gave up merely 5.3 points per game. We talked about them during the season about what they had been able to do, and it was pretty shocking, their defense and how good they were. They gave up 63 points all season, okay? One of their losses, they had 2 losses on the year. One of their losses was an 8-0 loss, okay? This is a defense that was absolutely outrageous. They gave up double-digit points one time, and it was in their playoff loss to Collinsville. That, by the way, a high-powered Collinsville attack. They gave up 5.3 points per game. Their defense was absolutely electrifying. Peaster is next, a team that played very deep in the playoffs, a state semifinalist from a year ago. Peaster, they're at 8.3. Wall, the reigning 3A Division II state champions, now moving up to 3A Division I, 8.4 points per game. Axtell, the Longhorns, terrific work down there in 2A Division I, 8.5 points per game. Kilgore, another team that played in a state championship game a year ago, 8.6 points per game, followed by the team that beat them, the Stephenville Yellow Jackets. They're at 8.9. Albany, always tough with legendary head coach Denny Faith, fewer than 9 points per game. Junction at 9.1 points per game. Ropes and Jewett-Leon round out the top 10. These are the 10 UIL 11-man programs that averaged fewer than 10 points per game. Awfully impressive from each of these teams. And some of them, I think, not necessarily a surprise. We knew Wall was going to be really good. Axtell, always very good. Kilgore, Stephenville, right? Albany. Ropes, a bit of a surprise. Jewett-Leon, a little bit of a surprise. I think Wheeler, certainly the depth of their dominance to average 3 points per game fewer than the second place team is pretty shocking. So those are, on balance, the best defenses in Texas high school football from a year ago. But what about teams that are on the upswing? What about teams that really took a big leap defensively in 2025? Let's compare the scoring defenses from 2024 to defenses in 2025. and the most improved defenses in Texas high school football. And at the very top, you will see the Rattlers of San Marcos lapping the field. They gave up 34 fewer points per game than they did in 2024. Now, that comes with a very small asterisk, which is, you may remember in 2024, they were a team, they were playing with largely underclassmen and basically rolling out a bit of a JV team because a lot of their key players were ineligible. But the bottom line is, they gave up, their defense made a huge, huge leap in 2025. Next up, how about Lubbock Liberty? Second-year varsity program had that second-year leap. They gave up 25 fewer points per game in their second varsity season than they did in their first. Robstown, the Pickers, fewer than 25 fewer points per game. Moody, the Bearcats, what a leap. 24 points per game better. Price Carlisle, Buffalo, Lamar Consolidated. LCISD had a really, really nice year last year, and Lamar Consolidated gave up 21 fewer points per game, 21 and a half. Think about that. That's 3 fewer touchdowns. Dallas A-plus Academy made a big leap. Flatonia was a big leap. And then Odessa Compass, a couple of charter schools there, and Dallas A-plus Academy and Odessa Compass, making big leaps defensively. And that showed up in the win column as well, by the way. But these are the most improved defenses from 2024 to 2025. But I want to zoom out a little bit further because that could just reflect having one really bad year in 2024 and then one really good year in 2025. What about teams whose trajectory is pointing up in such a severe way? So what I want to do is I want to compare the scoring defense in 2025 to 2 years ago, to 2023, and see which teams are trending up the most. And this really surprised me. The Bearcats of Pilot Point are the most improved defense across Texas high school football in UIL 11-man over the last 2 seasons. They have improved by 32.5 points per game. And it's been 2 straight years of improvement. They were improved by 17.5 points per game from 23 to 24, and then another 18 points per game from 2024 to 2025. And the reason that this surprises me so much, I want you to remember last week. Do you know who the most improved offense in Texas high school football over the last 2 seasons was? That's right. It was the Pilot Point Bearcats. They scored 36.2 more points per game in 2025 compared to 2023. They also allowed 32.5 fewer points from 2023 to 2025. Okay? You add that together. Their margin, their average margin per game changed by almost 70 points per game. 70. They are the most improved offense and the most improved defense over the last 2 years. Pretty shocking. San Marcos is next, thanks in large part to that huge leap from 24-25. White Oak made a big leap. Fisher Canyon Lake is down 28.8 points per game. Fort Worth Chisholm Trail, still a relatively young program, made a big leap. Beaumont Westbrook really, really started to upswing, down nearly 28 points per game. Carrollton Creekview, of course, had a terrific 2025 season. They have made that dramatic leap from 2023 to 2025. Dallas Lincoln, Austin Eastside, once one of the very lowliest programs in Texas high school football, now a team that you have to really, really worry about. And then Fort Bend Kempner, down 26.3 points per game. This is a shocking turnaround from Pilot Point, I think, is really the headline here. That they were a team that improved the most over 2 years, both offensively and defensively, more than any other team in Texas high school football. It's pretty shocking stuff there from the Bearcats. That's a look at the most improved defenses in Texas high school football in 2025 and the teams that are on the rise, teams that are really starting to put it all together defensively. If you go to TexasFootball.com, we will have tons of stuff next week rolling out our Texas high school football program rankings, and a lot of these programs will be on the rise, thanks in large part to the improvements that they made defensively. And that is a look at Math Tuesday.